Hello everybody, my name is Shalise. Welcome out everybody to my rankings of the Star Trek movies. This is the top 13 Star Trek movies from worst to best. And let's start off with the worst. The worst is Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Why does God need a starship? Why God did we need this movie? William Shatner directed this film, and I'm sad to say this is just an awful debut. If this was his debut, but either way, this is a terrible movie. Let me just say this. If you told me was the worst Star Trek movie, it's hands down The Final Frontier by a long shot. This is the only Star Trek movie I will never ever go rewatch. I rewatched it another time and it was one time too much. Star Trek The Final Frontier deals with Spock's half-brother in search of God in the center of the universe. Now the whole payoff is to finding the ultimate creator of the world. Does it live up to the hype? Hell freaking no. It's not necessary. Do not watch this film. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier does not live up to any of its storylines. There's no point for its build-up. There's no great character moments and all that stuff. It's just not overall that interesting. So Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, just no. Just stop. Number 13, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Number 14, Star Trek The Motion Picture. Now, I understand for the motion picture. I understand why people like this film. This movie was from a TV show. And for a TV show to get a movie back in the day is astonishing. Star Trek The Motion Picture is a stepping stone to something greater. Motion picture started off this entire set. Well, we had the Star Trek, the TV show, and it was canceled after like 3 years. And then, boom, came the motion picture. Then they had freaking like 6 more movies, and then after that came spin-offs and other movies, and then here we are. Star Trek is a big franchise now, and a motion picture is a big part of it for its box office success because a lot of people are into Star Trek. So I am happy for the people, and I'm happy for everybody who loves Star Trek, and the beginning of the first film deserved its praise for that. But for the storyline itself, they fight against a cloud. The Enterprise must go into space once again because there's this cloud that's coming towards Earth, and it's basically hammering down against the Federation. And this thing wants to meet its creator, the cloud, the living cloud. It's an okay episode of Star Trek. It's just a long episode of Star Trek from the old 1960s. Not necessary. There are a lot of better Star Trek movies. There are a lot better films that are a lot more interesting. This was just okay. I wasn't too excited about it. It was just eh. I never want to use the word boring for movies. I never want to use that because, in a sense, this film was a little bit boring, in my opinion. But what do you expect from the first Star Trek movie? So I understand, and it gets a pass. So Star Trek Motion Picture, number 12. It's okay. A C. Number 11, Star Trek Nemesis. Star Trek Nemesis is by far the worst of the Star Trek First and Next Generation movies. Now, what is this movie about? Well, there is these group of people called Remans, and the Remans are ruled by the Romulans. They were the slaves, and the Romulans are now being taken over by a Reman who is a human, and this human is a clone of Captain Picard, played beautifully by Tom Hardy. And I really do like the villain of Tom Hardy. I understand his reason for why he wants to hate the Federation, why he hates the Reman, and not the Reman people, but the Romulan people, and how he wants to live to the glory of the Picard name. He has all the memories of Picard, and this storyline does make sense for the most part, and I understand Tom Hardy and his character and his relationship with Picard and how they both see shadows of the self. And this entire film is basically, can we change our destiny? Just because you grew up in a harsh environment doesn't mean you have to continue the path of destruction. We could change who we are. It's never too late to change. But, and other than that, that entire theme and story made sense and it was good. I would give it a B-. But then they killed Data. And Data's death was not necessary, so to me, this film gets a C+. I don't hate this film like most fans, but I can understand why they dislike it. Star Trek Nemesis, C+. Number 10, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. If there's anything I hate in movies in general, is retconning previous movies. Look at the Star Wars sequels. Retcons all over. Star Trek, the Search for Spock, Star Trek Reader Search for Spock. Well, what'd they do? Spock is alive, the Genesis Project is defeated, and Kirk's son is dead. So everything they build up in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, they basically got rid of it and be like, hey, we need more Star Trek, we need more budget, we need more money. Yeah, let's do the Search for Spock, and let's try to make sure that when Spock comes back, it's done in a logical way. So the movie gets points for me because they did get Spock back in a logical way. But the problem is, though, they kill Captain Kirk's son, who we were introduced in the second movie, and then he dies and gets killed off. So I do not agree with killing Captain Kirk's son, even though he was killed by the soldier of freaking Doc from Back to the Future as a Klingon. I actually smiled at that moment when I figured it out. But overall, I don't hate this film, but I have very mixed feelings about the film. It just feels like unnecessary. Okay, the Genesis Project destroyed. Okay, killing Captain Kirk's son? Even though it adds later on to the future movie, The Undiscovered Country, I feel like this was unnecessary. I think you could have built a relationship more between Captain Kirk and his son. Maybe get Kirk's son on Enterprise, learning from him in like 2 movies, and then you kill him off in The Final Frontier. You kill him off in A Voyage Home. I mean, something could have been done better, in my opinion. The Search for Spock, don't really care for it. Number 10, The Search for Spock. Number 9, Star Trek Into Darkness. Anyone who tells me Star Trek Into Darkness is the worst Star Trek movie is lying to you. There is a lot of good things about this dang film. I love Kirk and Pine's relationship. I love the relationship and how Captain Pike becomes a father figure. He's always was a father figure to Captain Kirk, and I really like their relationship with each other. The scenes between Chris Pine's Captain Kirk and Spock are awesome. They're well done. I love Benedict Cumberbatch's Khan. It's a simple story that made sense. Granted, this is what I say the worst thing about this movie. It doesn't really feel Star Trek. It's just a whole bunch of action scenes going and going and going. The characters of Star Trek are still true to Star Trek. The Carl Urban's Bones, great. Zoe Saldana's Captain Aurora. Not Captain Aurora, but Aurora. Sulu is great. Chekhov is great. Scotty's great. All the actors did a great job with the characters. The characters didn't betray what they were. So I don't hate this film. Granted, was it lazy to, have Captain Kirk die in the same way in The Wrath of Khan? Or, switched around and just very similar? I give it kind of a pass because, it's an alternate timeline. And if people really hammered down this film as being the worst of the Star Trek movies for being lazy, then I want every single so-called Star Wars fan to put the damn sequel trilogy at the bottom of the freaking list. But no, that's a different thing. But okay, so Star Trek Into Darkness, number 9. Not the worst. Number 8 is Star Trek: The Voyage Home. I know a lot of people love this one. And when the first time I watched it, and the first time I ranked all the Star Trek movies, I had a good time with it. I thought it was a great Star Trek movie. Now that I rewatched it, it's good. It still holds up. It's a fun, corny, back-in-time thing. There's this alien probe that comes to Earth that is destroying the Earth's oceans and is looking for the humpback whales. And so the Enterprise must travel back in time to kidnap some humpback whales and to get them back to the future so they could save the future. The entire movie of this movie is to save the humpback whales, to save the whales. Star Trek: The Voyage Home. The whole great thing about this movie is that the crew of the original Enterprise go back in time and they see how it is back in the old days. How everybody's cussing and how Spock is now basically but he looks like a karate freaking teacher. He's just covering up his ears. It's good shit. It's good shit. I'm not going to say it's not bad stuff, but overall, the Star Trek movie, it's a good time. It's a B. But it doesn't rank up for me as one of the best. Sorry. Star Trek: The Voyage Home, 8. Number 7 is, to me, the most underrated Star Trek movie. Is Star Trek: Insurrection. I enjoy the shit out of this movie. I love the set piece. I love the set designs. Data has revealed himself and a Federation to another world where he's not supposed to. It leads to a vast conspiracy that gets in the heart of Starfleet of what are we going to be? Do we, because in this planet that the Federation is watching and the Starfleet is watching, they are being torn apart civilly because Federation wants to remove these people from this planet because in this planet, people can live long, healthy lives and basically become like immortal beings. And what does the Federation stand for? What does Starfleet stand for? Well, they uphold people. They uphold rights. We know they don't believe in like taking people from a freaking planet and leaving them behind. And it leads to some good storytelling. And it really gets into the heart of what Starfleet is. I mean, Riker gets in charge of the Starfleet. Data connects with a human. Picard is loyalties to the to basically the Federation is at stake. And I really did enjoy Star Trek Insurrection. It was a solid, good film. It's a B film. I would even give it a B+. It was a very good film. So Star Trek Insurrection, number 7. Number 6, Star Trek Beyond. This was a solid dang film. I enjoyed this better than and I rewatched it. I'm like, man, this was actually a pretty dang solid film. I like this better than Into Darkness. I like this better than a lot of the Star Trek movies. Because Chris Pine's character, Captain Kirk, he really is evaluating himself. What does he mean? He doesn't have to prove anything to his father. He's now a commander of Starfleet. Now he wants to figure out what does he want to do? What does he want to live for? What does he want to do in his life? So in his life, he still wants to, he's debating that with himself. But on a rescue mission, the Enterprise is being attacked and everybody's stranded. There's some great moments with Bones and Spock and their relationship. There's some great moments with Chekhov and Captain Kirk. There is a lot of great things with Scotty, and it really is a callback to old Star Trek movies and TV shows. So I think this was the most Star Trek-y movie of the next generation of Star Trek movies, and I'm not including Star Trek 2009 either, because I'm including Star Trek 2009 in that category, because even though I love that movie, it didn't feel like Star Trek. Star Trek Insurrection feels, and not Insurrection, Star Trek Beyond feels like that. And I really did enjoy the villain, Call, who's played by Idris Elba. I understand his reasoning for wanting the Federation to pay. It reminds me of like Krall's character, how Captain Kirk was in the Undiscovered Country, about how they both like hated what the Federation was doing, the time with the Klingons, and Krall's like, I fought for humanity. And it's just a lot of great stuff about letting go of the past and get the change. And Star Trek Beyond, to me, was a good, well-returned form to Star Trek. So Star Trek Beyond, number 6. Number 5, I'm going to Star Trek V, First Contact. The Borg have arrived, and Captain Picard is pissed. The Borg has arrived to go back in time to make sure that the human civilization does not make contact with, well, they are trying to take over Earth, but also they're trying to make sure that they don't make first contact, because they travel back in time to when the human beings were going to make first contact with the alien species. And that's how Starfleet was born. That's how everything would change for the betterment of humanity. And now they had to go back in time, so Riker's dealing with the original guy who flies the spaceship, and it leads to basically the alien intervention and the changing of the course of human history, while Captain Picard is going through a lot of anger and resentment towards the Borg and what he's gone through. And this is the ultimate fate and with him and Data. And Data, who slowly becomes human and has a sexual interaction with the Borg Queen, is just a very entertaining Star Trek movie. But this, to me, was a lot of action for a Star Trek movie. And I really did enjoy First Contact, but it wasn't my favorite movie of the Star Trek movies. So Star Trek 5, the First Contact, A-, a B+ film. I really did enjoy this film. But let's start it, let's go to number 4 now. Number 4 is Star Trek Generations. Star Trek Generations. William Shatner, Captain Kirk, is dead. And then the Captain Picard loses his own nephew. He's the last of the Picards. Captain Picard is struggling with the knowledge that he's going to be all alone, and that line is going to end with him. Then you have this crazy wackadoo dude who basically wants to go to this world called the Nexus, and he's willing to destroy millions of lives on a planet in order to get to this world. And this world Nexus, it's all about this utterly eternal bliss. And Captain Picard, in this vision, in this moment, he has children. He has everything he's ever wanted outside of Starfleet. And I feel for this character. I feel for William Shatner's character when he's there and has a wife and all that stuff, and he's wants to make amends, but it ultimately leads back to one thing, and that is duty. Picard and Captain Kirk must have a duty, and they must stop the evil dude from destroying 1,000,000 planets, and they must help the Federation. They must help the betterment of humanity, even if it's sacrifice of their own happiness. I think this was a well-done message. I'm not the biggest fan of Captain Kirk's funeral scene, but still. Star Trek Generations, a great Star Trek film, A-. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this one. Number 3 is Star Trek The Wrath of Khan. This used to be my favorite Star Trek film. But I gotta be honest. The search for Spock kind of took away from the serious moments of this film. Kind of takes away the importance of things. The death of Spock is tragic. And it's awesome. And it's downright heartbreaking. I love Khan, his revenge for Captain Kirk, for stranding him on a planet, and the planet basically goes kaput, and his wife dies, and a lot of his people die, and he wants his ultimate revenge. And Khan is the ultimate Star Trek villain. He's the best Star Trek villain of the entire Star Trek movies, and I think he's utterly fantastic, and his revenge was just awesome. He has this, like, William Shakespeare type, and I just really, really love The Wrath of Khan. But it's not my favorite thing in the world, because again, the search for Spock kind of retconned a lot of stuff. Spock is dead, but oh no, he's alive. Kirk has a son, then his son is dead. The Genesis project for a new planet, oh, that failed too. So Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, great movie, but the other film kind of retconned it, so So Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, I would give it a solid A- as well. Now, number 2 is Star Trek 2009. This was the first Star Trek film I ever saw. I never seen any other Star Treks. I saw a little bit of Enterprise when I was younger, but then I didn't get into it. And then I saw Star Trek 2009, J.J. Abrams, and I think all the actors did a great job. I think J.J. Abrams had a new take about Spock and his emotional depth to his character about the loss of his mother, his anger, his issues, his relationship with Lieutenant Aurora. I love Chekhov. I love Captain Sulu. I love Chris Pine as Captain Kirk. I really did enjoy this new generation of Star Trek. I did enjoy it. Grant was the villain Nero, played by Eric Bana. Great? No, he was just a standard villain, and he had his revenge plotline too. But I think this was a great opening for all Star Trek fans. If you ever want to get into Star Trek, I think this is a welcome return, and I think this is one of the greatest Star Trek movies of all time. It's my number 2. Maybe I would have put it lower if I didn't see it first, but to me, Star Trek 2009, I gotta admit, it is really, really damn good, even rewatching it. So Star Trek 2009, number 2. Number 1, and everyone's gonna be shocked and surprised, is Star Trek The Undiscovered Country. To me, this is the perfect ending to the original crew of the Enterprise. Sulu now has his own ship. The Klingon homeworld will be uninhabitable in the next 50 years, so they must make peace with the Federation. Captain Kirk must make peace with the species that killed his son. As he says, let them die. And there's this just real struggle of, can we move on from our past? Can we let the past go and to create a better future? And I absolutely love Star Trek The Undiscovered Country for its themes, for its messages, and didn't forsake the story and its characters, and stay true to who they were. See, Star Wars sequel fans? That's how you make a homage, and that's how you actually build. No. Forget it. Forget them. They're hopeless people. But Star Trek The Undiscovered Country is, to me, the greatest Star Trek film because of its theme and messages, and it really hit home. Not to mention, I think we got Commander Wolf in this movie. Plus side there, too. And there's just so many things I love about Undiscovered Country, and I really believed, to me, personally, it's the greatest Star Trek film alive. To his theme, to his message, to his character depth, to Captain Kirk for giving the species that took out his freaking son who killed his son, and also the fact that he's being framed for one of the Klingon Chancellor President's murder. The fact is that he has to make not only clear his name, but he has to find the real culprits. And it's not just humans that don't want to go to war with Klingons, but it's also like Klingons don't even want peace. Nobody wants peace because everyone wants to stick to their old grudges and their old hate. But the Undiscovered Country was the point of We must go to the undiscovered country. Is a new country. It's a new future. It's a new destiny for the Federation. So to me, Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country, my #1 favorite. But please let me draw, everyone. I mean, at least offer to everybody. Bye.